What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the final Blazers Uprise post-game show of the 2022 to 2023 NBA season. Once again, brought to you by Bet Online. The Blazers today complete their tanking ambitions. Eric, they lose to the Golden State Warriors, and they have the fifth best lottery odds for May 16th's draft lottery, a 10.5% chance at one Victor Wembanyama, a 42.1% chance at the top four. This season didn't go as we hoped, but the Blazers at least salvaged something out of it. Man, I can't believe the season's already over. How are you feeling right now?
I feel kind of sick having to watch a game today, but overall, when you set out to tank and fifth was the best we could have hoped for when that point happened, and to see them accomplish that and get fifth all alone, especially considering a couple weeks ago when we beat Orlando in Orlando, it looked like it was going to be pretty bleak to get that fifth spot. So I feel good that they accomplished their goal at least. Now the hard work starts today. Gonna have to get lucky in the lottery still. Still a greater percent chance we have the seventh pick over anything else. So it might not be the miracle that we are hoping for, but this franchise definitely, I think, needs some sort of good luck. And hopefully they find that in the draft lottery, because that could be a franchise altering day. And to have, the fifth best chance at it at least puts us in a position to look forward to it or have massive anxiety until that day, or whatever you want to say about it. But it's just going to be it makes the off season a little more fun when you compared to seasons where we didn't have a first round pick or things like that.
Yep, absolutely. We'll have everyone covered with off-season content, twice weekly streams on our second channel, Blazers Uprise Live. There's a link in that description box below, and then daily video content starting tomorrow. Excited for some of the video content we will have this upcoming off-season. We'll also keep you up to date regarding the NBA action right now. There is one game left to go final. That is Pelicans versus Minnesota. It looks like Minnesota's going to pull things out. There's been a bunch of drama in this game with multiple Minnesota Timberwolves players punching things. If you don't know how it went down, you can either go check Twitter right now, or you can wait for us to explain it. That might be the more entertaining version, because there was turmoil and drama in Minnesota, but we're going to wait for this game to go final before we touch upon that. Shout out Sam Dooley, member for 5 months, says, appreciate our group therapy sessions this year. Absolutely, Sam. Thank you all for being with us every step of the way this season. We've covered every single game, win or loss. Blowout win, blowout loss, heartbreaking losses, a couple buzzer beaters to start the season. I will have a video recapping this season. I've been working on that the past couple of days, so looking forward to that. But before we jump into things, go ahead.
I was also going to thank Snack Inc. or Snack NK for becoming a starter level member as well.
Yeah, appreciate you. If you want to become a member, click the join button below. We got to thank our sponsor. That was our post-game sponsor all season long. Helped us out a bunch. That is, of course, Bet Online. You can use the promo code BELIEVE for a 50% reward bonus. Now that playoffs are starting, the action is ramping up. Play-ins this upcoming week, and then next Saturday, the first round of the NBA playoffs. Unfortunately, your Portland Trail Blazers will not be a part of it, but you can get in on the action and get in on the fun with that promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for a 50% reward bonus over at betonline.ag. Anyway, man, so is this... Okay, I have a question for you. For me, personally, I've never had a season that's felt like it's gone by this fast. Do you feel the same way, or is it not the same to you? Chat, you can let me know if you feel the same way as well.
Definitely not last year. I felt like that was slow.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I always feel like it goes by kind of fast. It's like it's over already. But no, when you're, I don't know, I can see it both ways, but it didn't feel like super fast to me. What felt fast was just the turn from being excited about games and thinking we were going to be, a home court playing playoff team at one point to just complete tank mode. Like that felt really fast. Like it was just mayhem. Like I don't even really remember much of December, January.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, man. I remember it feels like yesterday trying to get prepped with these graphics. I mean, I remember struggling with this graphics package for the post-game show like it was yesterday, and my guy Gabe over at Suns Valley Podcast helped me out with it. Like, I remember that so vividly, and I don't have good long-term memory, so it feels like it was just yesterday. I was building this graphics package, talking with Krish on things, trying to get this bottom ticker coded to update game scores and whatnot, and now the season's over, and it's just crazy. For me, I've never had a season go by this quickly. I still remember opening night, being super excited, finally getting an opening night win. The excitement at the start of the season was a ton of fun. It was the most fun I had covering this Blazer team. It's the most fun I've had on post-game shows. The excitement being 9-3, being 10-4. These streams were absolutely popping. Absolutely popping. Unfortunately, obviously, as we sit here with the 5th best lottery odds somehow after that hot start, it didn't keep up. It didn't stay that way. It didn't stay with that level of excitement, but we still tried to entertain you guys regardless in a tanking season. Luckily, or unluckily, we got practice last year at that. But this offseason is all about trying to take the first 12 to 14 games of this season and being able to play at that level consistently. Because unfortunately, we haven't been able to have a season of post-game shows where the team has played at that level consistently. We've gotten a 6 seed in the second year we've done things. Of course, we lost in the playoffs to the Denver Nuggets. We got the 8 seed the first year we did things. That was the bubble year, the pandemic year. And then last year was a tanking season. This year was a tanking season. So, unfortunately, we haven't had much success since starting this channel. But this offseason, the Blazers have an opportunity to truly try and build a roster that is competitive next year and for the long haul. There is hope for the future. There is hope for this offseason. And I'm looking forward to what's to come this offseason. So, anything you want to add on to that, Eric?
Sounding like some Dame comments are... I don't know what's going on. Apparently, they're doing exit interviews today, so they don't have to do them tomorrow.
That's
Seems
strange.
like kind of a cop-out to me. Like, they're just trying to protect people from having to be... They're not even streaming them or anything, so, yeah.
So,
I'm sure they'll come up on YouTube later, but...
I mean, I'm seeing quotes. How are we going to do a... I mean, is this post-game show just going to be reading off quotes? Why are they doing Media Day today? They literally can't do it tomorrow. They have all off-season. You can't just do it tomorrow and then dip out for multiple months. I mean, that's just the organization is going to do things that way. They're not going... I don't know. I'm so frustrated with the way this organization does certain things, and that's just another one of them if they're not even taping exit interviews.
I'm like I said, I'm sure they'll be on YouTube later, but yeah, they're not streaming them, I guess.
Do you want to talk about comments?
Sure. I mean, there's not much to talk about from this game.
Yeah.
Sharp didn't play a whole lot.
Anyway, that was kind of my sentimental recap of the season, guys. All right. Probably missed a couple things, from the GP2 debacle to the everything else that went down this season, but I will have a recap video for that, and I will set that as a premiere, so there will be a live chat for when that drops. I'm looking at 6 p.m. tomorrow, or if I can't finalize it by then, I'll just drop content plans tomorrow, or maybe Media Day reaction tomorrow, although we can do that on our stream, Eric. Mm-hmm. So tomorrow or Tuesday, we will have a season recap video, much like the off-season recap, but just a season recap. So as far as these quotes. Priest, please don't troll me with that because I would love for Jody to sell the freaking team. As far as these quotes, Eric, we got Dame quotes that are eyebrow raising. Eyebrow raising from one Casey Holdall. The first quote that I see in our GC, because that's where I'm getting it from, so shout out to everybody in our GC. Damian Lillard says, quote, there are needle movers. This is paraphrasing, actually. Dame says there are needle movers who want to come to Portland, but now it comes down to acquiring those players.
Yeah.
Your reaction?
Well, I mean, I think he's pretty obviously talking about Mikal Bridges as one of them. It's just, do the Nets trade him, and do they want what we have to offer? And is he going to be mad if they just keep him if he doesn't get traded? Like, it's one thing if Mikal gets traded to another team for like 3 firsts or something, and we could have easily beaten the offer or matched it. But does it work? Like, what happens if the Nets decide they're not trading him or whatever, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the big question. The Blazers have assets. The Blazers have a high pick. Even if it doesn't move up, the Blazers have a high pick. The Blazers have Shaedon Sharpe. It's just, when it comes to Dame, you know, what does he truly want? Does he want to move off Ant for a Mikal Bridges? Is he going to be upset if we can't get Mikal Bridges and keep Anthony Simons? The thing is one of Anthony Simons or Yusuf Nurkic has to go from Mikal Bridges just from a salary perspective. So it's always interesting seeing quotes like these.
I think they could get there with Sharpe, Nas, Keon, Knox, Watford. I think gets there, right? Or pretty close.
Little Knox, that's like 16, 17, 18 million. Mikal's making what, 23?
It's 21 or 22, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that could get it done, but like that's the thing. So that's basically the conversations we're going to have all offseason.
Well, read his other quote. Do you have it?
Yeah. So Dame also says, quote, I don't have much of an appetite for building with guys 2 and 3 years away and not really going after it.
All right, so this is my question. If it costs Sharpe to get Mikal, and Dame says we better do it, do you do it? Or do you tell him no?
The thing is, okay. Do you think he's talking about Sharpe? Because Sharpe doesn't look 2 years away, you know what I mean?
Right. I'm not saying that, but like, let's just say that was the case. Like, he's saying we have to trade our draft picks and stuff, so
I try like hell to trade Ant instead.
Yeah. But what if it comes down hypothetical right now? Mikal, we can get Mikal for basically just and keep everyone else but Sharpe and picks or whatever. Just contract fillers. Do you do it?
I do it if there's a follow-up move that gets us to contention, because I don't think that alone gets us all the way to contention, and I'm not about to go all in and trade Shaedon Sharpe unless we truly get all the way to contention.
Yeah.
Mikal's really, really good, and Mikal makes us a playoff team for sure. And in a series against Steph or Luka or Kevin Durant or whoever, you have that guy that you can trust to put on them, and he's not going to get cooked. But the thing is you can't expect to go from what was a bottom 5 defense this year, just bring in Mikal and be good enough defensively to contend. So they need more. And if you're going to completely trade the future, I'm not against it, but you have to get to contention. You cannot mortgage the future, sell out the future, and not be a contending team, at least on paper. Like, you'd have to bring in Claxton too if you're going to trade Sharpe from Mikal. Mm-hmm. Because Claxton is arguably a top 5 defender in the league this season. So Claxton plus Mikal, you could make the case that, yeah, that makes that team good enough to contend. completely off topic, but Jaden McDaniels has a fractured hand, Eric, because
From punching the wall.
He punched the wall.
Dumbass.
Earlier in the game, Rudy Gobert punched Kyle Anderson, who is his teammate.
Yep.
Minnesota won.
They come back and won. And
against
now,
the Pelicans.
Yeah.
And now they'll have a play-in game.
The Timberwolves play the Lakers, right? They're the 8.
Mm-hmm.
7-8.
Yep. But they're not going to have Jaden McDaniels because he punched the wall. They might not have Rudy Gobert because they might suspend him.
Right.
This is fascinating. See, it sucks being where we are, but I'd be so pissed off. You know how pissed off I'd be if Jeremy Grant was out for a play-in game because he got mad and punched a wall?
Mm-hmm.
The McDaniels brothers have, low-key, I've heard about a lack of maturity with both those guys. They both played high school basketball in my state of Washington. Yikes.
That's why Jaden fell to the 20s in the draft, too.
Yeah. That's really
bad. That's crazy.
That's really bad. So that just popped up, but
that Gobert trade is already looking like one of the worst trades in NBA history. And we don't even know what all's going to come of it yet. But the Wolves are kind of stuck too because they have 2 bigs on floated contracts that are worth far less in a trade than they would need in a rebuild, and they have no picks to trade or anything. So they can't just go full rebuild and just trade everyone around Anthony Edwards either. So they're kind of screwed right now.
Yeah. Fascinating. Back to the conversation we were having.
And for the record, I'm not saying I would trade Sharp for Mikhail. I'm just saying I could see a scenario like that where Dame, it's basically because Dame's putting this pressure to get it, he's sick of them not going through with deals, right? That he's sick of them saying, "Oh, we tried, but it didn't happen. We'll try next time," right? He wants them to actually just do what it takes to get one of those deals done this summer. And so, to me, I think with the lack of assets they've gotten in trades previously, dating back to Cronin's first trade deadline with CJ, Nance, Rocco, and Norm, unfortunately, I think we're going to be put in a tough position where we have to do something we don't like to make a trade like that. So, yeah, it's tough, man. I agree with you, though. If we can get Claxton, I'd maybe think about it, but short of that, it's tough to justify any kind of move with Sharp right now.
Yeah. We'll have all offseason to talk about this stuff. The thing is with Mikhail, man, he's played good in a small sample size in Brooklyn this year. He's never been an all-star. And it's we're treating him like, oh, we'll finally get Dame that second star, but he could be next year if he keeps playing the way he's played in Brooklyn, but it's not a big enough sample size where I'm like, yeah, that's for sure going to be a 24, 25 second option on a contending team type player.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, he helps us out a ton, but if you're talking about giving up Sharp for him, for a guy that hasn't 100% proven he's an all-star caliber player, it's a bit of an overpay, but that's why I'm okay with it if we truly contend next year. Mm-hmm. And you can make the case that he could take us a long way because he's exactly the type of player we need at the small forward spot. But you're giving up a dude that looks like a freaking star right now at 19. If you take Shaedon Sharp since he became the number 1 option in Portland at 19 years of age, Eric, and you compare him to Mikhail as the number 1 option in Brooklyn, offensively, I mean, Mikhail's a little bit better, but the fact that you can have a conversation about them being comparable kind of tells you everything you need to know in terms of giving up the 19-year-old who's cheap right now is probably a bit of an overpay.
I mean, Bridges was super efficient, but defensively, it's not even close. I don't like if we're just talking next year. But you could also easily make the case that Sharp as not a number one option might not play as well either. So
Yeah, but you could also make the case that with McHale having more offensive responsibility over an entire season, his defense might not be at the same level because it's hard to be an absolutely elite defender and on the perimeter, chase guys around, and have a high usage rate offensively and do a bunch of stuff offensively. Like, he can do it, I think, if he's like third, fourth option. But if you're relying on him on being that like second guy next to Dame offensively, I'm not sure that he's the same defender that we've seen in Phoenix. He's still, I would have no doubt that he could still be a really good defender, probably the best defender on this team, no matter what he did offensively, no matter how he was used offensively. But I mean, that's the conversations that you have to have in terms of will an expanded offensive role maybe take away a little bit of his energy for the defensive side of the ball.
yeah.
So,
but you're also going back to him not being the main offensive player here.
Yeah, but
so
then at that point, is that smart to, give up something of that value for a guy that isn't, a star?
Yeah. Well, it might not even matter what we think or what the organization thinks if they're getting an ultimatum.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
this is also
at some point you have to ride or die by Dame, even if it's not necessarily the best move. I think he's earned that, though.
This is also why it's so important that especially like obviously if we get the number one pick, it doesn't matter, but 2, 3, 4, 5, even those picks have more value to maybe not have to give up a Sharp in this trade. Like, let's say Brooklyn really likes Scoot or one of the Thompson twins or something. Like, maybe that is just enough to like not have to do that. But I hope that's just what he means by that, is trading draft picks. But I don't think. See, this is the problem when players say stuff like that. Is I don't think he realizes how little they have to trade outside of people Dame really is not including in that. And so, I don't think he's looking at it like, oh, well, I'm saying we have to trade Anthony and the picks or whatever. I think he's thinking we can just trade the picks and people for players like that, and we can't. We'd have to give up at least one of Nurk, Ant, or Sharp in a McHale trade. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, the most ideal situation, if we don't get the number one pick, would probably be like, if we end up with 6th or 7th, which is probably the most likely scenario. Ant in 6 for McHale. I don't think that's enough, but maybe another future first.
But I think that's a lot too. It's not enough probably, but it's not also that's a ton,
Yeah, I mean, if it's just Ant in 6, though, you still have the 23rd pick, and maybe you flip that for the 2024 first ode to Chicago, and then it's a situation where you swap Ant out for McHale. I think that makes the team better because obviously it's a defensive upgrade and McHale looks legit. I think that makes the team better next year, and there's nobody available at 6 outside of maybe a SAR potentially, where it'd be like, oh, you can't give up on that upside, right? There's nobody with as clear-cut boom or bust upside as Shaedon Sharp at 6 or 7, in my opinion, if the Thompson twins go top 5 with Brandon Miller, Scoot, and Wemby. So at that point, I'd be...
John Collins is not a needle mover second.
Hell no.
Especially not on this team.
I'd rather have Zach Collins right now than John Collins. John Collins regressed this year. So that's the thing, is I'd absolutely be willing to do that, and then Sharp can get a chance at that shooting guard spot. But the thing is, in that sort of trade, Eric, you'd still have first to move around and get another piece. Plus, to me, that's not completely mortgaging the future, because that pick isn't top 4, and you're still keeping Sharp, who has more long-term upside than Anthony Simons.
Mm-hmm.
Mikhail's young enough to fit with the core. Like, he's a couple, 2 years older than Anthony Simons? So...
I'm probably saying, like, at that point, I'm offering everything for basically Ant, Nurk, Nas, and 5 first or whatever for Claxton, Finney Smith, and Mikhail.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing, is they have other pieces where it's like we could sell out for.
Yeah.
That would be potentially wise to sell out for.
There is another person that I've heard might be someone Dame is referring to as well. It's someone we've talked about all season.
Who's that?
Someone else on the Nets, but unfortunately he's a restricted free agent, so trading for him in these kind of deals is a little bit trickier.
See, but trading for that guy isn't a needle mover like that.
But Dame, and I'm just saying from Dame's point of view, I know, like, so all good saying, he's just saying needle mover can mean anything. I'm telling you, I heard something specific about certain people that Dame is referring to. So, yeah.
Meanwhile, Jeremy Grant says he expects to be back. Dame says he expects Jeremy Grant to be back. At this point, I would, I don't know. Would you use pen on Jeremy Grant being on the roster next year, or would you use pencil?
I'm pretty confident he's going to be back. I think he just wanted that 5th year for some reason. And, I mean, not for some reason, for financial reasons. But yeah, I don't understand him coming here, wanting to be here and then leaving after a year. I just can't see it. I don't know. I think he seems pretty locked in.
Yep. And Jeremy Grant had a quote saying, "I love Chauncey. I think he's a great coach. He's still learning. He's still figuring things out, but we want to play for him. As a coach, people overlook that aspect of things. Having someone you want to go to war with every night is huge." So, I mean, players like Chauncey's a questionable coach in terms of, like, game plan, prep, X's and O's. But it's not like he's been given, great rosters at the same time, and it's not like he's been in the league for 10 years and should have figured out certain things by now, like he's still learning, as Jeremy said. So, go ahead.
Chauncey had some comments before the game and yesterday that seemed to indicate that he is in step with Dame in saying that you can't win with these young guys who don't know how to play yet. He wants veterans and stuff like that, and length in the front court. So, yeah, some of that stuff too. So, I don't want to hear, like, we heard at the beginning of this year that these were Chauncey's guys now, and stuff like that. So, I don't want to hear that and then have excuses later. But at the same time, I do kind of agree that he hasn't really had the greatest front court depth to work with in terms of defense and stuff. So, I don't know. It just feels like they're setting it up to maybe hopefully get some quality pieces in the front court.
Yep. So people don't want to trade Sharp for Mikhail. 38% said it'd be a travesty to do so. 34% said they wouldn't do it, but they'd understand it. So that is 72% of people. 23% of people say yes, but only if we truly contend. And only 2% of people say yes no matter what. So I thought it would be a little bit more on yes, but only if we truly contend. But honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised by chat being logical. Because that was 169 votes there, Eric.
Yeah.
By the way, leave a like on this video. We got over 300 people in here, only 50 likes. Let's get that like button up to 100. Up to 100. Appreciate that. But yeah, that's my views on Mikal Bridges. I saw a question earlier. Connor asked, what if we get number 1, but Dame wants to trade it?
I mean, I guess you could include Luka in that, but to me, the conversation starts and ends with Giannis or Embiid. And if we can get one of those players, I don't like it, but I mean, I understand it. So it helps us win now, you know. But yeah, so if that's the ultimatum, you have to get one of those two guys, in my opinion.
Yep.
If not, there's no way you can trade it for anyone short of that. Like maybe you could justify like a Tatum or something like that. But even that, I feel like they'd have to throw in more, but they wouldn't, you know. So like it doesn't make sense.
He's the least likely to become available out of the three.
Right, yeah.
And none of them are likely, but you have to wonder Dame's comments if he's talking about needle movers. You have to wonder if there is somebody who he's convinced to want to play with him. Because no big name guy is going to want to specifically come to Portland, the organization, the Blazers.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason anyone would want to come here is to play with Dame.
Right.
And, you know, maybe by extension, Jeremy Grant or so. I don't know. But you have to wonder who Dame is referencing. Mikal is the obvious choice because Mikal is really close with Dame and also like worked out with like Dame and Ant. Mikal and Dame are boys. I would love to have Mikal on this team. It just, you know, the cost. Like, if you could get it done without Sharp, without Ant, like if it's, you know, 5 or 4 and then a couple future firsts, then that would be awesome. And it would show Dame we're trying to win, but also it wouldn't be mortgaging the future by trading Sharp or trading Ant. And Mikal's young enough to be a part of that future. If those two guys become, you know, a top 3 backcourt, which they absolutely could be, right? So I would love Mikal on this team. I've wanted Mikal for the longest time. I wanted Mikal on draft day when he got drafted. Yeah. However long ago that was. When he got drafted at 10 and traded to Phoenix. Yeah. We didn't have a pick. I wanted to find a way to trade into the draft, into the late lottery, to try and take Mikal in that draft. Me and you were both really high on him. 2018 draft, that's right, Mastro, thank you. The Sixers were silly and traded him for the rights to Zaire Smith and another asset, and that didn't work out whatsoever, but they should have kept him. But I've wanted Mikal since he came into the league. He's the type of guy you kind of need on this team. It's just, you got to be smart with every move you make if you're the Blazers this offseason. You got to make sure you make... You just can't trade a bunch of assets for something that doesn't get you to contention because they don't have assets to waste.
And just for the record, Cam Johnson became a Phil Beckner guy too last summer, so that's why his name popped up all season. Dame likes him as well.
There's a number of players on that Nets team, even if it's not Mikal. Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Claxton. Like, the Nets are a team to watch.
For sure. Yep. And DJ Vega mentions a name. I know you're going to say this is unrealistic. I kind of lean towards your way. But from Dame's point of view, I absolutely could see him and Draymond thinking they're going to team up this summer. So I don't know how they get that done unless Draymond accepts the mid-level exception or something like that. But I definitely think Draymond, it wouldn't surprise me if he's on a very, very short list of less than a handful of players that Dame thinks he can get to come here.
So we got Mikal, Cam Johnson, Draymond. Do you think... I mean, I think you have to add Giannis to that list just because there's been reports in the past, you know, if the Bucks didn't figure things out, that Giannis would have wanted to play with Dame.
That was pre-championship, though.
That was pre-championship. But, I mean, here's the thing. If he really wants to play with Dame, just because he loves Dame's game and is a Dame fan...
I think that ship sailed. That was a long time ago.
So you think he doesn't want to play with Dame anymore?
Well, it's not that he doesn't want to play with Dame. I mean, you saw him at the All-Star. He was the first pick in the All-Star draft, you know, and that kind of stuff. I just don't think he's gonna leave the Bucks to play with Dame.
I don't think it's likely whatsoever, but I'm saying you can't rule it out.
I can rule it out.
I'm not ruling it out.
Okay.
I think it's a very small chance. We have a better chance of getting Wemby. A much better chance of getting Wemby, but I don't think it's a non-zero chance that because Dame and Giannis are boys, you know what I mean? It's not like there hasn't been anything on that front, but that was pre-championship. But also it could be something where if the Bucks struggle this year and look like they're on the downswing, we'll see. I mean, maybe Giannis sees that and is like, you know what? I still really want to play with Dame. I don't know. It's not likely, but I don't think it's a non-zero chance.
See, I think because everything with Embiid, you know, he still wants to make it work in Philly, but if they have an exit, I could see him changing his tune a little bit, especially if they lose Harden. But like, I just don't understand. Giannis loves Milwaukee. He's said multiple times he wants to be there his whole career, just like Dame wants to be here. I don't think he would just be all of a sudden like, oh, I want out to go play with Dame, you know, because they actually put a championship team around him.
Yeah, but I mean, Dame and Giannis would probably be a championship team no matter what. True. So it's not like Giannis would come here and expect not to win, because, I mean, Dame would be better than any player Giannis has ever played next to. So the thing is I don't think Draymond's likely at all. I don't feel like Draymond would want to leave Golden State.
They might have a choice, though.
I mean, but yeah, that changes the conversation. But if we're talking about a guy that wants to come to Portland, like Dame is saying, I don't think it would be a situation where Draymond comes to Portland. I think if the Warriors go on a run, Draymond definitely goes back. If the Warriors lose in the first round, which they're playing the Kings, so yeah, good luck, Sacramento. You finally made the playoffs, but I don't think Draymond is likely, because then it's going to be hard to pay him probably what he wants, and otherwise you'd have to sign and trade him if you don't use an MLE. So if we're talking about Draymond, that's why I bring up, okay, well, Giannis, I don't think there's a non-zero chance, because I think the odds that it's Draymond are very, very small.
Yeah. He might go to the Lakers, too.
Yeah.
But I think there's a much greater chance Draymond over, like, Giannis or Embiid.
I think there's a greater chance, but I don't think it's much greater.
Well, with these new rules going into effect, though, it's going to make it even tougher for the Warriors to keep everybody. And then Jordan Poole's extension goes in. So, yeah.
They're just kissing away any chance at having a good defense if they trade him. They already struggled defensively with him all year this year, and it was a big reason why they were the 6th seed.
Yeah.
Like, they need him defensively.
Mm-hmm.
They need him more than they need Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole actually is one of the most overrated players in the league. Playing in that offense, he should be getting a lot of high-quality shots, but he forces some questionable looks, and efficiency-wise, he's subpar. Doesn't play defense. I'm not a big Jordan Poole fan. Like, they would be foolish to prioritize Jordan Poole on the money that they decided to pay him over Draymond Green on a cheaper salary.
But Draymond could also opt out and be a free agent, so it might not be their decision.
Yeah, but I feel like Draymond wants to stay there. Because he talked about it recently, too, how he wants to stay there his whole career. I thought he had a quote like that. Maybe I'm misremembering, but that's the thing with all these guys, is we're just kind of throwing darts at a board. Like, no one... And let me explain this, because I need to explain this again. Because people seem to miss this point of the conversation when we talk about this. No one specific guy is likely. All of them are unlikely. But if you have 100 guys that are unlikely, what's the likelihood that one of them is that guy? It's a lot higher than if you have one guy that's unlikely, right? So the more guys, the more options you have on the table, the more likely it is that, A, you're going to be able to pull something off. But when we're talking about who wants to play in Portland, I mean, I have no idea. We didn't think Jeremy Grant wanted to come here. We knew Dame was trying to recruit him, but we didn't think Jeremy Grant wanted to come here until he did. So, who knows?
Yeah. So who else was on that Olympic team? Was
KD, obviously, but KD's in Phoenix where he wants to be.
Bam.
Bam
He was on that team, right?
I think so. I know Bam and Dame are cool. Bam could definitely be a guy. Keldon Johnson ain't a needle mover.
Yeah.
At least not for us. He's good, but doesn't give us what we need. So Yusuf Nurkic and Jeremy Grant have both said today that the team needs more veterans next season. So even Nurkic and Grant.
Oh, yeah.
Dame also said, or go ahead.
Shaden also said he feels like he's ready to be the starter next year.
Shaden said that?
Yeah.
See, this is the thing is, I wonder how much people are going to, like, take what Nurk and Grant and Dame are saying against Shaden. Mm-hmm. But I think Shaden is the exception. I think it's more so towards, like, Watford, maybe even Reddish, maybe Eubanks. You know, you can't have Keon in the rotation next year.
I think it's more of the picks coming up, too. But again, I mean, he's not recognizing that the picks are the reason why we have Shaden right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's also talking about the picks coming up, with Wemby being the exception.
Yeah. The Dame added, like, the full quote, I guess, is that he specifically said he feels like Shaden has been different, but that's the exception. But, like, why can't we find another exception?
Yeah, there you go. But, I mean, like, Shaden wasn't consistently positive until now.
Yeah, the last few weeks. But
that was also, like, this was the best case scenario from a rookie season I could have foreseen for Shaden Sharp.
Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of draft picks. Like, you mentioned Jalen Williams last stream. You know, like, even a guy like Sohan, Mathurin was good this year. Keegan Murray was good on a third seed playoff team. Paulo Banchero was obviously good. Like, there's multiple guys. This draft's supposed to be a little deeper than, or have a little bit higher top end talent too in this draft. So yeah, I don't see how I don't think that's necessarily the exception. You just have to find the right players. But Shaden Sharp wasn't supposed to be one of those guys that helped you right away either. Like, it's kind of like Zach Collins. He was supposed to be a year or two away from being willing to, or being able to help a team. And now, yeah, Walker Kessler, Agbaji's played well down the stretch here. There's lots of players that could help this team sooner rather than later.
Yes, but also, I mean, Dyson Daniels was looked at as like, oh, he should be ready to contribute right away. And I mean, he's been okay when he's played, but he's not a needle mover. Like, I think it's more so just Dame wants a true difference maker, and it's unlikely to get that through the draft unless you get the number one pick.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, as high as I am on the upside for Sarr and Amen Thompson, there's a good chance that they're not a difference maker year one. Like, they're more long-term. Whereas, like, a Jarris Walker, if I had to bet on who's better between the Thompson twins and Jarris Walker their rookie year, I would bet on Jarris Walker, but he has a lower ceiling. So...
Well, it also depends on team, I think. If you're talking about, like, a contending team, I think Walker fits in. But if you're talking about a rebuilding team, I think, much like Sharp this year, would have put up stats all year on a rebuilding team.
Yeah, but that's the problem, is we're neither.
Right.
So, you know, what's the calculation then for if you're neither is the question. But I mean, if we get the number one pick, it's different. Like, I don't think Dame is going to sit here like, no, I don't want the best prospect since LeBron. You know, like, LeBron came in and was good as a rookie, really good as a rookie, averaged 20 a game. I mean, Luka came in, was good as a rookie, right? Like, Wemby, especially with just what he can change defensively for this team, would be a huge help next year. Like, I have no doubt about it. And I don't think Dame talked about Wemby, and he said something like earlier in the season, luckily I'm not going to be playing much longer once that guy gets into the league. Now, he thought he was going to be in the playoffs and Wemby was going to be on a different team. Maybe Wemby is on our team. But I don't think this talk applies to Wemby. I do think it applies if we have the 6th pick.
Right.
I think at this point, if they have a pick that isn't number one, I would bet on it getting traded. Mm-hmm. Even if it's an overpay. The other guy he could be talking about is potentially OG. We've heard rumblings about OG not being happy in Toronto before. But the thing is supposedly he wants a bigger offensive role, and he's not going to get that in Portland. The thing is, he could get a payday in Portland, but with the Blazers about to pay Jeremy Grant, is Jody willing to take that on? So... Priest says Ant Simons just said he understands if he gets traded.
Dude.
What?
I don't know. I really like Anthony. He's such a nice guy, and I just feel bad at the way people treat him. I just think it's disgusting.
Yep. Him and Nurk are the two guys that... And in the past, it was CJ and Nurk. Yeah. It's frustrating for me, too. It's why I rail against it all season long. It's why I speak out against it. Mm. I mean, then again, I'm pretty hard on other guys that are probably nice guys. But I try and make my criticism based upon something and not just purely hate. I try and make it based upon their play, based upon their production. If a dude comes in as a 32% shooter, I'm not going to sit here and go along with, oh, he can shoot threes. No, he's 32%er. That's just the facts. Right? So, but like Anthony Simons and Yusuf Nurkic are underrated is the problem. Like Anthony Simons is a really good NBA player and people treat him like he's should be on the bench. Mm-hmm. When he averaged at 23 years old, 21-4 with solid efficiency. Mm-hmm. But we don't appreciate that for some reason.
And he's trash to a lot of people.
Yep. That's the type of stuff I don't like. And, I mean, I won't celebrate Ant being gone whatsoever. Priest says, bro, y'all know Simons is great, but y'all know he got to go for salaries. So, what have we talked about this entire time? We've talked about trading for McHale and OG. Ant doesn't have to go in order to match those guys' salaries.
Also, what have we said this entire time? That you don't build a team by putting yourself in a position to have to trade players like that, no matter what. You do it by getting contracts to add to. If we get the second pick, and we could have traded like James Wiseman and Kevin Knox for Mikal Bridges in the second pick, or like those two and the second pick for Mikal Bridges, and instead we have to give up one of Sharp and Ant. That's how you destroy rebuilds or like retools. That's not how you make a championship team. So I completely agree. In the right scenario, Anthony needs to go, but I don't agree with the position Cronin has put this team in, and some of it might have been Jody's fault, but to have to then trade them if we want to get anyone good. It just doesn't make sense to me why you would build your roster going into an offseason where you know you're going to make an all-in move, and then that's like your only option is to trade someone who should and has always been discussed as part of your core. Cronin said at the trade deadline the day afterwards, every move they make has the first thing they think of is how it'll work with a Dame and Anthony backcourt. He didn't say Dame, he said Dame and Ant. And so, like, for him to now, if he just switches to, oh, we got to move Ant, like, a couple months later, that's just horrible GMing. There's no other way to describe it.
That would be par for the course with him, though. That would be par for the course for him, though. Because what did he say at last year's trade deadline? He talked about balancing the roster more in terms of size, and then didn't do so at last year's offseason. What did he talk about before the season? He said, we wish we could have Josh Hart at every position, and then he turned around and traded him. No, I know he traded him because of Jody's pocketbooks. I'm not really blaming him for saying that and then trading him, but it's like he hasn't been a guy that says something like that about Ant, and then that actually means that guy's not getting traded, or that actually like, what he says hasn't really meant much. So I'm not going to read too much into that, because that's the thing, is because Ant's Dame's guy, but if Dame goes to Cronin, it's like, you know what, man, Mikal wants to come here. He's better. I want to trade Ant for him, which Dame has never really been the type of guy to do that, but at this point with his years winding down, you know, he's 32, maybe he's a little bit more willing to push to get what he wants in terms of a roster. I mean, that probably changes the calculation for Cronin.
Typing away.
I know you are. I was giving you a chance to talk, but... Chauncey Billups says, quote, "We've done the tweak thing a few times. We've got to do more than that this summer if we want to do right by the best player in franchise history."
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like even Chauncey's putting pressure on Cronin. Cronin is under the most pressure of any GM, maybe in the league.
Or he's got a guarantee that he's fine as long as he does their bidding and he just doesn't have a care in the world.
Oh, I'm already stressed about the offseason. We were supposed to look back at the regular season, and now it's media day quotes. I was ready tomorrow for media day and, you know, just kind of not have everything at once. But that's how they're going to do it.
I have a question for Chris Gilbertson in chat. At what point are you going to stop letting every bad move an organization makes be Neil Olshey's fault?
Yeah, when's the deadline for that?
Can you let me know when that will stop being the case? Because if it's when every player on the team has been signed, re-signed, or extended by the current GM, that is the case currently. So he has nothing to do with... Olshey has nothing to do with the roster anymore.
What about Jaylen Brown? I mean, Jaylen Brown, I would throw in that, like, Giannis Embiid section of, like, probably a non-zero chance, but very unlikely. Anyway, He can't even answer your question. You asked him a very simple question, and he won't answer it. So, anyway. I mean, here's the thing. Guess what? If Joe Cronin pulls off a great offseason, nobody will be complaining about him. But this offseason is 1,000% on Joe Cronin. 1,000% on Joe Cronin. There's no way it's not. He's in control of the moves he makes this offseason. He is not out of control in terms of the moves he makes this offseason. If he is out of control, that's his own fault. Neil Olshey isn't controlling what he can and cannot do this offseason. Mm-hmm. He's not a puppet with Neil Olshey behind the scenes still acting as like a shadow GM. Because he can't be the real GM anymore. This offseason is 1,000% on Cronin.
It was going to take a while to build a contender.
Well, guess what? It sounds like Dame and Grant and Nurk and Chauncey are done waiting. It sounds like they're done waiting, so guess what? Now all the pressure's on him. It's not like he has absolutely zero assets to do anything. He has assets. He has Shaedon Sharpe. He has Anthony Simons. He can open up future firsts. He has potentially a top 4 pick in this upcoming draft. I've seen teams acquire good players with far less. So it's not an excuse. If we want to view him as a good GM, okay, well, good GMs in this situation would figure something out. And that's the thing, is it's about execution. And you can sit here and say, oh, well, this is why this GM didn't execute, and maybe it might be a little bit legitimate, like, because they're in a tough spot. But guess what? The good GMs figure out what to do in tough spots. Look at what the Warriors did when they were losing KD. They got D'Angelo Russell back for basically nothing. And then guess what? They turned D'Angelo Russell into Andrew Wiggins, and then he was monumental in them getting back to a championship. That's what good GMs do. And you could have sit here and said, like, oh, how could you expect them to get anything back for Kevin Durant? He's leaving in free agency for nothing. Right? And it's like, okay, sure, that's not a terrible argument, but guess what? The good GMs figure out ways to get things done. Plain and simple. And I'm not going to sit here after this offseason saying, oh, well, Cronin just couldn't figure out how to get anything done, and that's Olshey's fault because 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever.
What do you mean he didn't have assets before? What are you talking about, Chris? I don't understand what you're saying.
He had Norm Powell. He had Robert Covington. Didn't get back a good return in that trade. That kind of hurt him in that trade. Or now, because he doesn't have... He should have had a first-round pick from Norman Powell. Didn't get that. Should have gotten Cleveland's first-round pick for Norman Powell. Didn't get that. So then Cleveland pivoted and traded for Karis LeVert, who's not a better player than Norman Powell. I don't like Karis LeVert at all. And Cleveland wanted Norman Powell.
This is the same thing with Stotts, too. It's like... Stotts sucking at his job does not mean that he's all of a sudden good now that Chauncey is sucked too for 2 years. Just like Olshey failing to put a good team around Dame several times does not mean that Cronin gets an excuse for his job, or that we're not trying to say Olshey was better than he was or anything like that either.
Good GMs can take tough situations and figure out how to make the most of them. Cronin has done nothing to make the most out of his situation so far. But guess what? This offseason is when he can prove himself, because he no longer has the Olshey excuse. He has assets. That's the thing. At this point, Eric, yeah. I don't freaking care about the first year and a half of his tenure here. I don't care. I care about this offseason, okay? Mm-hmm. If he fails, if this offseason is like, Kevin Knox can be our backup small forward, and we're going to bring Drew Eubanks back to be our backup center, and Justice Winslow's going to be the backup 4, and we're going to start Sharp at the 3 next to Damon Ant, and we're going to, and then they draft the wrong guy. If it's something like that, dude, you can never trust him, because the past year and a half hasn't been good, but then he'd doubling down on it. But if he has a good offseason, guess what? I don't care about that. If he has a good offseason, he has a good offseason. And the thing is, if he has a good offseason this summer, that doesn't mean that he did good, a year and a half ago.
Well, he's made his job tougher this summer than it had to be by making bad moves up until this point, especially at the trade deadline.
Yeah, that's the thing is, if he maximized the steps leading up to this offseason, it would be easier for him to have a good offseason, and that's kind of the point. But regardless, he is not incapable. He doesn't have his hands tied. This offseason, it's time for Cronin to put up or shut up. It's time for him to either prove himself as a competent NBA GM or prove himself that he can't handle the job.
Dude, this is why I get frustrated, though. Are we even convinced that an overpay or an all-in move is the right thing to do? I mean, look at all the teams that made big moves last year. The only one you can say that really paid off, obviously the Durant trade is going to be probably good for them, but yet to be determined on that. But the Cavs, getting Donovan Mitchell without giving up one of their top 3 players, I would look at that. But you saw the Mavs trade for Kyrie.
I mean, trade made no sense.
Right. But you saw the Hawks give up a ton for DeJounte Murray. You saw the Timberwolves give up a ton for Rudy Gobert. And, numerous other trades that have gone like that. So, I don't like this idea of we have to go all in. You suck as a GM if you don't go all in, or Dame, now saying, we have to make those moves, and I agree that we need to improve the team, and you need to put better talent around Dame. That's 100% true. I just don't know if it has to be.
Well, here's what it comes down to. It's not just purely, oh, he has to make an all-in move, and therefore, if he does so, it's a good offseason. It's all about what he gives up and what the final result is. If he overpays, but on paper, the roster is a contender going into next year, and it's a team that hypothetically should be a really high-caliber team because it has the right mix of offensive players, defensive players, shooting, bench, etc., then I'm happy with that offseason, even if it might be a little bit of an overpay. If he overpays for a team that doesn't have enough talent to contend, has major holes on it, and he mortgages the future to do so, that's a fail. So that's the thing is my evaluation of him this offseason will be based upon all the context and everything that goes into this offseason. I always take context into account. That's why, and some people have a problem with this, but that's why I don't give him a ton of credit for the Jeremy Grant trade, because that trade happened because Grant wanted to come here and Detroit was willing to work with Grant to get him to where he wants to go. Mm-hmm. That wasn't Cronin's doing. Sure, he pulled off the trade. I'll give him a little bit of credit for it, but it's not like he just went out there and swindled a GM for a guy that just, randomly gets traded. That wasn't basically almost forcing his way here. So that's the thing, is context is important with everything. And, if he makes an all-in move and we're not good enough next year and we have no future now and we have no present, then that's a failure.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you an example. There is a player that has been linked to being friends with Damian Lillard, has been in pictures, some of those with like Mikhail and stuff, and at birthday parties of Dame, at his wedding, things like that. Is a veteran. Probably I put him along the lines of a Jeremy Grant because he's pretty good, but he's also kind of, I don't know. He's not what this team needs. But I could definitely see Dame wanting this person, him being a person that wouldn't mind coming here, and that's DeMar DeRozan. And I believe that is the type of player Dame would be happy, Grant would be happy, Nurkic would be happy if they got. I'm just saying, but that's someone like Dame would be like, let's trade our picks and get him, right? And then then Dame would be happy because we got DeMar DeRozan, but then it's kind of his fault when that team isn't good enough, So that's why I almost would rather just keep the picks and draft someone and hope you get another Shaedon Sharpe to add to your mix. You know what I mean?
I feel like we aren't giving Dame enough respect in that conversation where it's just like, oh, he wants to play with guys that he just likes, Because I feel like to anybody that knows anything about roster building, DeMar DeRozan, it's obvious, will not get this team to contention. What's this team's biggest problem? It's defense. Mm-hmm. DeMar DeRozan doesn't help that at all. You're still going to be a bottom 5 defense. And you just can't win with a bottom 5 defense. Offensively, DeMar isn't great off the ball. So it's like if you have Sharpe and Ant and Dame and Grant, how does DeRozan even function offensively unless all those guys don't have the ball in their hands? I know they all can shoot, but you want guys that can coexist no matter who has the ball with your stars, with your best players, and DeRozan isn't that guy. So that's the thing is if you're Cronin, you have to be cognizant of that, and you have to be able to, if Dame brings him up, you have to be able to just have a conversation like, okay, so what's our biggest problem? Defense. Do you think he really helps us defensively? You have to be able to talk about that with Dame, but also I don't know if Dame is that. I think Dame might be smarter in terms of team building and realize that might not be the right guy.
I'm just saying, I could definitely see him being the type of guy. We got preached that Jeremy Grant was going to be solve our defensive problems too, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at least Jeremy Grant is a solid defender if used right, a good defender if used right. DeMar DeRozan, no matter how you use him, isn't going to be a good defender.
We called before there was even a game how he was going to be used, though.
Yeah, I mean, but that's on Chauncey making a mistake. That's not on Dame, like, thinking somebody's going to help defensively who's just a bad defender. So... I don't know. I mean, I'll just say this: if we go after DeMar DeRozan, this offseason is automatically a failure. Well, I don't care how it happens.
I don't know if he's necessarily like top 3 or 4 on the list. I mean, we've already named several names that would probably be higher, but yeah. Let's just say Mikhail, the Nets decide not to trade him or whatever. Like, I don't know if they have to make that kind of move. It might be a case where they have to go down the list until they find someone they can actually trade for. But I'd rather have freaking, I don't know how many picks it would take to get there. But if we're talking even like the 6th or 7th pick, I'd rather have that than DeRozan.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't willing to give up all those assets for OG, and Dame was okay with that because he wanted Sharp. I mean, you can't rule out it getting to a point where, like, they exhaust every possible option, and Dame knows that they're exhausting every possible option, and all the options are just nowhere near good enough. And it becomes a situation where, okay, well, maybe we have to wait till the deadline, but we're going to bring in this role player defender. Maybe it's a Finney Smith or whatever, and Dame understands the reality of that.
That's what's happened every single deadline, and this time Dame is saying he's not going to accept that.
I don't think in previous years we've tried to exhaust every option. B, I don't think we've had as many assets as we do now to actually realistically exhaust options that we thought were on the table or might have been but that's doable.
That's what happened last summer with the 7th pick. This is exactly what happened. Dame wanted to trade it. He wanted to get a good player. He realized they tried, and then he was told, don't worry, at the deadline we will do that. And so we didn't do that at the deadline.
Well, that was the mistake, is promising for sure that something's going to happen that's not completely in your control.
What I'm saying is Dame's comments recently, it sounds like he's fed up with that approach. He does not want to hear we're going to wait till the next trade opportunity. I don't think he will be happy if that's the case.
I mean, it sounds like he wants more veterans at bare minimum in the rotation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, like, that's the thing. If they strike out on needle movers, but they fill out the bench with, like, veterans that we know can contribute and have proven, just, like, we've had this conversation multiple times, have proven that they can be in the rotation and impactful for a winning team. If we get those types of guys because we strike out, you know, maybe it's a Finney Smith or whatever, like, I don't think that is something terrible, because it sounds like Dame just wants more veterans. He's tired of having to rely on, like, Nasir Little to break out. Mm-hmm. You know, he was super high on Nas this offseason. No, yeah. God. Nas was the biggest disappointment of the season compared to the hype he had going into the season. And I feel like, you know, Dame was high on Nas going into the season. I feel like the way Nas panned out, Dame's just like, screw it, we can't keep going into seasons like hoping guys that haven't proven it are just going to turn into guys that can help us, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's the thing, is at the bare minimum, this team should be and needs to be better next year, just in terms of having rotation players that you know you can consistently rely on. And I don't know what the specific pathway to getting those players is, because there's a bunch of different pathways, but that's the good news. There's a bunch of different pathways. So it should be something that Chauncey should be able to figure out. And then on top of that, go for every big swing. And if it becomes a situation where it's like, okay, Dame, we're getting you vets, but to get OG, we have to give up the 4th, or we have to give up a future first and Sharp or something crazy because it's Masai Ujiri. Who knows? I could see Dame, just like he did last offseason, saying, no, that's too much.
I think this year he'll be like, just do it, man. I think it's mindset's going to change a little bit.
A little bit, but I don't think he's ever been completely unreasonable.
No, I'm not saying he is. And I'm not saying Dame's like incapable of making good decisions or anything like that. That's also not what I'm saying. But I think Dame, I don't know. I also haven't seen him put this kind of pressure on a team before. So It's good that he's using this pressure.
Did a couple off seasons ago.
Yeah, I mean, that was more just, I'm going to leave, or he never even said he was going to leave. He just wanted things to be different, but yeah.
And he wants, things to be different. Yeah, I don't know.
We got a $2 Drono saying DeRozan puts us in the playoffs. I'm biased though. Well, like any mediocre player would have put us in the playoffs. Even tanking, we were not that far out of the playoffs this year.
Yeah, that was after losing a bunch of double-digit leads.
Yeah. Like, so we're very close to being a playoff team. If that's the goal, I did think that's dumb. Like, we're much better off with a higher chance of contention. Like, getting a player that might not be ready but could help us win a championship in a couple of years versus someone that gets us to like the 60 this year.
This is why I'm just so desperate for the number 1 pick, because it changes the conversation, I think, even for Dame.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dame would love to play with Wemby. like there is one exception to everything Dame is saying in this year's draft, and that is Victor Wembanyama. And, you know, when Dame's saying these comments, some people read into it like, if we get the number 1 pick, we're trading it because he doesn't want 19-year-olds. He doesn't want Wembanyama.
Mm-hmm.
Dame's not saying these comments thinking about Victor Wembanyama. He's thinking about the state of the team. Victor Wembanyama is the exception. He even said Shaedon Sharpe was the exception. He wasn't supposed to be ready, so...
I don't even think he's the exception. He's the one who saves all these people's asses in the front office. Like, Wemby saves Cronin's ass. He saves Chauncey's ass. He saves Jody's ass from having to pay, the tax or whatever. Because that's the other thing. What if Jody, like, blocks the trade because she says that'll put us in the tax and she doesn't want to be a tax thief?
But you know what's funny, Eric? You remember the interview that Dame had last offseason where he talked about building much like the Suns had built, where, like, he's the CP3 and they're building a good young core that can contend, in the next 2 to 3 years?
Wemby is Ayton. Sharpe's like Booker or something. I don't know. Sharpe and Ant together or Booker. I don't know.
Max, don't even suggest that, because my beard has gotten us 5th best odds. So it's, don't even start tying. What's the word? Like,
plays the nose. Wax for.
Jesus. Oh my God. Y'all gotta stop with that.
Would you wax your chest on stream if we got Wemby?
Oh, no. Why would I cause myself pain after I'm happy for the first time on stream ever? I'm just kidding. I've been happy on stream before. You guys should know that. But it would be the greatest moment in my on stream in the history of this channel. I'm not about to then cause myself insane pain. So there was a comment from Cronin. Eric. He says, quote, timeline-wise, it's time for us to start moving quicker towards having a roster that's ready to compete at the highest level.
Mm-hmm. He also said a couple things about Billups. I think he's done a great job. I don't think I dealt him a great hand this season. I don't think I did him any favors by giving him the lack of depth he had.
Wow. I was not expecting that to be a quote.
Well, I was, because I don't like people. I know a lot of people hate Chauncey and want him fired and stuff, but we've told you all along that wasn't going to happen. And nothing with Cronin and Chauncey's relationship seems to be bad, and nothing with the players' relationship with Chauncey seemed to have gone awry at any point outside of the players they traded last year. But can we finally then say now, like let's not give Cronin credit here. I was so sick of that all season. Oh, his thing takes time. He just admitted he didn't do a good job this year. So let's not use that as an excuse now. He told us he was doing a bad job. He was right. And now he's admitting that it was a bad job. So let's just take him for his word right now.
Props for him.
Yeah.
Props to him for taking some responsibility and being honest.
Yeah.
And that's entirely why if he has a good offseason, I don't care about that. Okay? He has a little bit of experience now. This will be his third offseason, Eric. People like to say, oh, he's only had one full year. He's barely been here. This will be his third offseason. This is the time. Third time's the charm.
I kind of agree with AJ. I think that's him. He can't admit it that that's what they did, but I think he just admitted that he purposely didn't give him much help this year to make sure we got the best possible asset.
I mean, partially that, but at the start of the season, I mean,
right.
Hopefully, I pray that he's looking back at the start of the season like, okay, I gave him Justice Winslow and Drew Eubanks as his backup 4 and 5. And he had to rely on a 19-year-old rookie who didn't play in college.
If only Justice was healthy, though, we would have been good, right?
If that's a quote, I might throw this, whatever this is, through the wall behind me. Yeah, hopefully, he realized.
Chauncey loves Eubanks, though.
I mean, stop. Yes, but...
Did you see his comment before the game?
Yes, but I don't want to... I want to ignore that comment. I want to pretend like he never said that. And I want to think... If I'm going to acknowledge it, I think Chauncey would love him as a third-string center, hopefully.
But that's the problem. If he's a third-string center, I think it's too much of a... like security blanket or something. He might not ever be the third string. He might be the second string.
Well, I mean, get him a better backup setter, and then Chauncey will play the better player.
Yeah. For those that missed it before the game, Chauncey was asked his favorite memory of the season, and he talked about Drew Eubanks missing a 3, and then a game later or something making a 3, and Drew giving him crap about it or something. I don't know.
Okay. Free agency, I fully expect to see Drew Eubanks has re-signed with the Portland Trail Blazers on like a 2-year, $6 million deal. And it's like, he's going to come in and be the backup setter because he was phenomenal. Shot blocker, rim protector, energy, big, who Portland Trail Blazers fans love. I'm ready for that tweet from like Woj. And when that tweet happens...
Well... Tori, when we signed Drew, I told you right the second we signed him that they promised him to be the backup center last year. And you were like, there's no way, right?
My hopes were too high.
Yep, and that was absolutely the case.
See, now I know better. Now it's like, guys, Kevin Knox might be the backup 3 next year.
Yeah. All right, another Joe Cronin quote. Thank you to SXKJX for putting these. We don't want to go through this anymore. It's time for us to start winning basketball games, not just for Dame, but for all of us. We don't want to have another year like this. Didn't they say the same thing last summer? Like, I'm so sick of them saying the same crap and expecting us to just be like, oh, okay, this time is different. Like, like he literally said that last summer. Like that was a one-time thing. Like, with this next year we'll be back. Dame said it too.
I mean, actions speak louder than words. You cannot put any stock into the words that come out of Joe Cronin's mouth, is what I've learned.
Woj bomb? Is that a real Woj bomb?
Don't troll with fake Woj bombs.
It's not.
What are you talking about, Jonathan? Oh, Gobert? Bro, don't Woj bomb anything with Gobert. But I will read it off. Just say check Woj's tweet about Gobert or something. Don't say Woj bomb, because when people come here and say Woj bomb, we think it's related to the Blazers. Or else why are we calling it a bomb? Because it isn't. It doesn't matter for us. Minnesota's Rudy Gobert escalated a verbal argument to a physical encounter after Kyle Anderson told him to shut the F up, B-word.
The disagreement started with Anderson telling Gobert to block some shots. Gobert telling him to grab a rebound. What?
And ended with a Gobert later sent an apologetic text to teammates in a group chat. Per Mike Conley, "We'll speak about it and move on," he said. "We're grown men."
Is Rudy Gobert a grown man? This is literally the person who, at the beginning of COVID, decided to put his hands over every microphone and then was the first player to have COVID.
See, well, at least we didn't trade for unprotected first for that guy. But also, bro, you can't be saying that to a teammate and expect them, like, you're not supposed to do, okay, you're never, ever, ever justified or supposed to punch a teammate just out of the blue, right? But you're never, ever, ever supposed to tell your teammate, a grown man, by his own words at least, to shut the F up, B. Like, that's... Anybody knows that's fighting words. That is what you say if you want somebody to punch you. So... both of them are in the wrong. And so is Jaden McDaniels.
Yep. Draymond Green just tweeted out, "Insecurity is always loud."
Because Rudy Gobert tweeted out the same thing when Draymond punched Jordan Poole.
Yep.
So, at least the NBA.
It's entertaining.
Well, Gabe says me and Romp say that to each other every day. Okay, well, you guys have that weird relationship, and that's just kind of your own, unique thing. That's just a you guys thing.
I mean, have you watched Rudy Gobert this year? I'd probably tell him to grab it or block an effing shot too and STFU as well. Like, that guy is.
Yeah, but you don't use the word at the end of that,
Yeah.
So. I mean, I'd say that to you, and you're like 45-minute drive away, and if I said that to you on air, I'd have to, like, check over my shoulder. I'd be expecting you to, like, barge into my room like the Kool-Aid Man and mollywop my ass, so.
Yeah.
Smog, I don't recollect that, but did I call you the B word? No, I did not, so that's why we're okay. And speaking of bad first interactions, I mean, I've had bad interactions the other way with people I'm friends with now. So, you can always bounce back from it, but you don't use the word at the end of that sentence and not expect a punch thrown your way. Wally Mop, yes, Zach. That's exactly what I said. Sure.
Should we do a tankathon?
I guess. Let's tankathon. Let's see if the final tankathon of the regular season. Oh, did you think Kieran's?
Oh, no.
You want to think Kieran's? Do you have it? Because I have it.
Go ahead.
No. Shout out to Kieran with the $5 dono. Says, LMAO. Thank you guys for being rational. A lot of people in chat like to just say stuff with absolutely no logic or evidence behind it. Kieran is chat's number one hater.
He hates chat, yeah.
He hates chat. Obviously not every one of you, but, I don't know. If you have to wonder if he's talking about you, then he probably is talking about you. But thank you, Kieran, for the $5 dono. Feel free to donate to us so that you can hate on chat to chat whenever you want. Our donos are an open platform. Appreciate the love. Time for Tank-a-thon. Let me get it connected. There we go. Tankathon. Portland locked into... Dude, I can't believe we ended the season with fifth best odds.
I know, that's crazy.
Remember when we were questioning it and it was like, oh, man, like after beating Orlando, it's like, oh, it's probably completely out the window. I'm expecting like 7 or 8. We actually did it. 33 wins. That's 6 more wins than last year, and we have better odds. So at this rate, next year, Eric, they're going to have 39 wins and have fourth best odds. That's probably mathematically impossible, but anyway. Anything else you want to say about the tank this season or to preview this final lotto spin of the season?
Yeah, Indiana was dumb and won today. Houston and San Antonio both had a chance to get the second all by themselves. It didn't really matter odds-wise, but it matters, if teams move ahead of them. So they both won today, which was interesting. Dallas was in a situation where they had to lose because if Oklahoma City lost, they could have possibly fallen to 11th and not gotten their pick even if they didn't move. So they successfully lost to the Spurs. And yeah, so very interesting day of tanking. But yeah, I can't believe Washington and Indiana won games in the last few days that cost them a chance at the sixth best odds.
Yep, and the bottom part of this lottery isn't finalized yet because it depends on who plays their way into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And the Knicks pick is where? 23rd did it finish at?
23rd is the Knicks pick. And then also the Blazers have the Hawks pick, which is 43.
43, nice. Moved up.
So 23 and 43. We're going to get, we're going to get 3, 23, and 43.
We should have
be separated by 20.
We should have 35 too. That's our own pick.
Yeah, it's to Boston. What was that trade?
That is part of the Hood trade. That pick's been traded like 5 times. So
yeah,
it's part of one of the picks we traded in the Hood trade. It's just been bounced around.
It's nice having a pick at 43, though. We had a pick at 46 last year, and they traded it for nothing. Hopefully, they actually take someone this year. The Jurassic, probably. A stash guy, maybe a Vukcevic. Gotta brush up on the stash guys. But, Eric, are you ready?
Sure.
You sound scared.
I'm just joking.
Simulating it. Rolling up from the bottom. Eric is trembling and shaking right now. 14 New Orleans. 13 Toronto. 12 Orlando via Chicago. 11 OKC. 10 is Dallas. They get to keep their pick. 9 is Indiana falling down a spot, which means that
Utah freaking again. Why is it always Utah?
I don't know. My computer loves Utah, I guess. I don't get it. So Utah moves up. That sucks. Hopefully we don't see another team below Portland move up. At 8, Orlando, which means Washington moved up. Which means at 7, it should be your Portland Trailblazers, and it's your Portland Trailblazers. At 6, it's San Antonio. At 5, it's Detroit. At 4, Washington. At 3, Houston. At 2, Charlotte. And at 1, Utah. You know what, Eric? I think this specific web browser is glitched out and just loves Utah way too much, so I think this was actually rigged. I'm going to open up... I use Microsoft Edge. I'm going to open up Google Chrome, and we're actually going to do the final Tankathon sim of the season, okay? Because this web browser is in love with the Utah Jazz, so... Chrome. You agree, chat? It seems rigged for Utah, so.
Did they get one?
Yeah, they got one. You didn't hear me say they got one?
I knew they moved up.
Yeah, they got one. It was rigged. It's BS.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they would never rig it for the Jazz, right? I think your computer was made in Utah, Tori. Apparently. Okay, so final Tankathon of the season. This one, I don't think will be rigged. Except I can't even capture Chrome. Never... Oh, wait, can I? Nope, can't even capture Chrome. So we're going to have to settle. Oh, no, there it is. There it is. Cool. All right. This is on the Chrome web browser. Final sim of the season no matter what, because Chrome would never rig it. Scrolling up from the bottom, 14, New Orleans, 13, Toronto, 12, Orlando via Chicago, 11, OKC, 10, Dallas, 9, Utah,
Yeah.
8. See, it was Microsoft Edge. I told y'all. 8 is Indiana. 7 is Washington. Getting into danger territory right now at 6. The Houston Rockets.
Holy crap. That means Orlando and
Portland and Charlotte are in the top 4.
yeah.
At 5, Detroit. So San Antonio's also top 4. Detroit gets screwed. San Antonio, Charlotte, Portland, Orlando. At 4, the Orlando Magic.
Let's go.
At 3, get this text off the freaking screen. I can't. Oh, well, I don't care. At 3, the Portland Trailblazers.
It's all right.
It's better than 7. At 2, San Antonio, and at 1, Charlotte. Adobe, get off the... Screw these freaking ads, man.
I'm fine with that. 323 and 43.
Yeah. Is there a way to, like, get this ad off the...
No clue, man.
Stupid. I don't need a TV. Okay, thank you. All right, so what are we doing here at 3? What trade are we doing?
Well, Brandon Miller is going to be better than Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, so just take Brandon Miller and live with it.
Okay, what are we actually doing?
No, I'm serious. I mean, that's what I would do, but yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, well, not next year, obviously, but I do think Brandon Miller is going to be that level type player.
You're too high on that guy.
We'll see.
We'll see. We will see. Clip this and remind us 7 years from now, chat, okay? 7 years from now.
Dame said no 19-year-olds. Brandon Miller's already 20, so don't have to worry about that. Yeah.
Clip it and remind me 7 years from now.
Good point, Rahi.
I'll tell my 4-year-old son that I was right. See, look, Dad was right 7 years ago. What's up, future son? So if we trade it, what are we doing?
I'm kind of scared that you're going to have a kid in 3 years.
Yeah, maybe he'll be 2 by then. I don't know. Math is tough. To Washington for 7 and Bradley Beal. I don't know. 3 and Ant for Mikal. Are you doing it?
That's so much to give up. No, I don't. I mean, I wouldn't, but I could definitely see them doing it.
Let's say Brandon Miller's off the board at 2. Would you do it?
I mean, it doesn't really change the value of that pick, in my opinion. But I think 3 for Mikal is fair value. The problem is we don't have contracts to match. So I'm trying to get Claxton still.
See, I feel like to trade 3 without trading Sharp or Ant, because we could maybe do it with Nurk. Even if we don't get back Claxton, I feel like we'd have to have 2, though. Like, I feel like they'd want Scoot because they have a bunch of wings.
Well, you just said Brandon Miller went too, so.
Well, yeah, if Scoot was here, then, yeah, it would be easy, I think. But I don't actually think Brandon Miller's going to. And if San Antonio wants to do that, I'd laugh my ass off. But, yeah. Drew Timmy at 3. No way. Chat, you're tripping.
See, the problem is you can't just trade number 3 for a player. You have to include salary. So if we're talking about Mikal Bridges, we also have to include Anthony or Nurk or Sharp and Nas or something like that. Like, so that's the problem. But I'm not giving up much more than 3 in a trade, like for Mikal. Like, well, I'm not giving up extra first too.
I can't stand our media, man. I'm not going to say names, but there's a media guy saying, Dame didn't say anything that we haven't been saying or writing for months. They've got to make the all-in trade this summer or do the other thing, one or the other. Bro, why can't they just explain what the other thing is? Why are we being like... You know what I mean? I'm sure I know what the other thing is, but like, why do we have to play the guessing game with an analysis tweet? An analysis on where this organization's at. We have to guess as to what the other thing he means is. There's no reason to even be secretive about that. The other thing. All in or the other thing? Man, it just drives me crazy. So if we get the number one pick, is that the other thing? Or is that the other thing?
Was that Voldemort?
I can't confirm nor deny because jeez. So Trevin said it's not a guessing game. He just doesn't want to say trade Dame. Bro, just say it. Why would you be scared? Like, if that's what you mean, and that's what you think it's going to come down to this offseason in regards to what the organization is going to do, then just say it.
Well,
why are we scared to say stuff?
Here's why. The quick thing, because Quick said it and Dame hates him, but
Evan T says it's not secretive. If you can't interpret that, that's on you. I mean, it's pretty obvious what he's talking about, but I just hate when we talk in vague, like, I'm very blunt in case you can't tell, and I say what I mean. I don't understand tweets like that where it's like, dude, just say what you mean. We all pretty much know, but we still have to, like, it. I don't know. Maybe he means Joe Cronin's going to go to Taco Bell instead. I don't freaking know for sure. But he probably means trade Dame. Why wouldn't he just say trade Dame?
Because that pisses Dame off. And also, okay, Dame's putting pressure on the organization, but he still also said that he's going to remain loyal to Portland. Like, it's not like he's for sure asking out if an all-in trade doesn't happen.
I know. So, like, the tweet in general, if that's what he means, doesn't really make much sense. But then also, it's just, I don't know. Like, it's just kind of silly. Yesterday, we had someone say that the Spurs weren't, he didn't think they were interested in Wembanyama because they said Collins is going to start next year, which makes absolutely no sense. Just stuff like that drives me crazy. Anyway. Brian Ravenel, $5 dono, says, trade 3 for OG and Toronto pick. Thank you, Brian, for the $5 dono. Okay, the thing is what salary are we giving up to match OG? What's the lowest amount of salary we could give up to match OG? And I already know you wouldn't do the trade because Brandon Miller at 3.
It's what? I forgot what he's making next year. 18 or 19 million, something like that.
Yeah, let me look.
Because then it's whatever, 5 million less of his salary. Well, I don't know the new trade rules yet either, so. But it would have to be agreed on before the draft, so I don't know if. Yeah.
And it would put us into the tax before the draft, right? So it would have to be 1.25% more.
No, we're sick. Or we're.
Are we?
Yeah, we're like 5.9 million under the tax.
Okay. So approximately 12.3 million is what we'd have to trade out. So Nas.
Wait, how much does he make next year? Or this year?
17.35.
This year or next year?
This year.
Okay. So yeah, 12. But Nas is on poison pill this year, so he counts less going out, so I don't think we can get to 12.
It would be Nas, Knox, Keon.
That's not enough.
More. I know, and more. Because Nas,
it works.
And Keon is...
What does OG go up to after? It might have to be one of those that you agree upon.
Only 18.6, so it's a little easier to get it within 5 because Nas has a bigger gain than that.
So Nas is like 6.2 or something, plus 3 from Knox, plus 2.8 from Keon is roughly 12 million. So we're right there. Then Trendon or Nate Williams or something gets us over.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Good job, Trevin.
Yeah, so it'd be after for sure, I think then, and it would for sure include Nas if you're trading down in the draft to get OG, but you'd need a top 4 pick to do so. If we got 4, would you be willing to trade like 4 Nas, Keon, Knox, and like, Williams just to match for OG in 13?
Yeah, I'd probably do that. Because it keeps Dame happy. It feels like an all-in move.
Yeah.
We don't really have to give up a lot. We can then get Lively or something at 13 and fix our backup center spot that way. We still have 23. Yeah, I think I'd be comfortable doing that.
Is there anything you could see trading 13 for in terms of a player that could help now?
Well, we just traded away all our tradable contracts outside of people we don't want to.
You still have Nurk, and you still have.
Well,
I might have. Oh, it'd be tough to have the TPE, but maybe the MLE is the TPE. I don't know.
I would offer 13, 23, and Nurk for Claxton or something, and whatever contract they wanted to get rid of. Just I don't know if they do that. Probably not.
No,
but
I don't think there's a chance.
Those are the kind of things. Yeah.
Miles Turner. Oh, God, stop trying to make this the worst rebounding team in history. Alex Wolf.
They're not trading Miles Turner for the 13th pick either. And how we? I guess we have Nurk. But like the only thing that makes sense then is to trade for a center, right? And we don't.
Yeah, see, this is the problem that we were talking about. Is now your only contracts above basically minimums are Dame, Ant, Nurk, and Sharp.
Yeah, I think I'd rather just take Lively and hope he's the center.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of it from like the standpoint of the organization and Dame. You know what I mean?
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe they can kind of play it both ways. They get him OG. They still get to draft first round guys, and then they can address the rest of the vets in free agency. All their signings could be vets that way. So
yeah,
Zach Collins might still be gettable, maybe with the.
I mean, I would like to get
TPE,
him,
yeah,
obviously, but it'd be tough. Because how much is the TPE?
It's 8.3, I think.
8.3.
8.2, 8.3, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 8.3. So, I'm just kind of like looking at rosters right now. For a team maybe that is willing to go young. I was going to say Alex Caruso, but he makes a little too much and he doesn't make a ton of sense.
Well, especially if we get OG like at the 3, then if we still had Sharp Ant in that scenario.
I wonder, you know what? I wonder if the Wizards would maybe be willing to move off Avdia with his free agency coming up. What, this was his 3rd year, right?
Was it 3rd or 2nd?
I think it was his. I don't know. I think it was his
3rd. Yeah.
Yeah, it was his 3rd year. So he's going into the last year of his deal next year, and Washington's just in a weird spot. I don't know.
But do we need?
He's a good defender.
No, I know, but if we have OG Grant at small forward, I don't know. I'd almost rather
probably want like a smaller, more of a guard defender that can hopefully hit.
But you could address that in free agency.
They can. I'd rather them address the backup center spot in free agency. Well, I feel like at that point you'd want to trade one of the first round picks for a backup center spot, or like a perimeter defender, and then in free agency you address the other one. and maybe it's 13, maybe it's 23. I'm trying to think in terms of the organization. It's like if they're truly going to be insanely aggressive, I think even if they did that trade down, got OG, they would still be looking to trade that pick for a vet because they need vets off the bench. You know what I mean? They need as much good depth as possible, and they were talking about that. So,
No way, Rahi.
what'd Rahi say?
If we have 4, do you do a Dia in their pick?
No way.
That's not enough. We're just talking about like adding cheap thing, but I also think they're, based on how he played, pretty high on him.
Yeah.
Seth Curry's a free agent, so yeah, you could go after him in free agency, but
He doesn't make a ton of sense,
yeah,
though.
outside of shooting, he would, but
Yeah, I'm struggling to find a target that fits that TPE. That would make sense.
well, we'd also have the mid-level exception TPE that's slightly higher, if that's real. Which
You know who?
DJ Vega asked if that hard caps you. I haven't seen the actual CBA, so we don't know for sure, but I find it hard to believe that using an MLE would hard cap you, but using it in a trade wouldn't. So yeah, probably.
You could throw in Thaddeus Young into the TPE as part of that initial Raptors trade, but he's not worth 13. Maybe you go back 13 and trade 23, but that's still a bit of an overpayment. I don't think Thaddeus Young is good enough to trade a first for.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough, dude. Is there a lot of free agents this year, or is it just me?
There's a lot of free agents.
Which makes it obviously harder to trade for certain guys.
No, Sam. Brian Ravenel with another $2 donation. Thank you, Brian. Those 5 seconds for Jared Vanderbilt. I mean, if the Lakers, flame out in the playoffs and move on from Vanderbilt, like maybe he isn't part of the rotation in the playoffs. I don't know if it would cost you 5 seconds in that situation. Maybe you could get it for cheaper because they might just want to be maximizing cap space or something. But I definitely think he would be a target that fits both what Dame wants and what Chauncey needs. But I'm still not that high on Vanderbilt. But yeah, I don't know.
You know what could be doable for that TPE? And it's not like the perfect player for us, but it's a guy that supposedly Dame likes. Caleb Martin.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind
probably
that.
do the 23rd pick for him if we're going to do that instead of 13. Otherwise, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I've looked through 20 teams so far. The problem is with a bunch of teams close together, there's not as many sellers. It's the same problem we had at the deadline this past year.
Team like Miami though is always trying to kind of work around their cap situation, getting hard capped and then making moves still. So
I don't think Dallas doesn't have any defenders left.
Rahi asked, not for us, but it looks like they're not going to re-sign Christian Wood. Who do you think goes after him? He's someone that might not get a lot of interest.
Yeah. I mean, he's never played in the playoffs. He's a guy that puts up numbers, but does he really help you win basketball games? I don't know. He's one of those guys where it's if he was on the Warriors, he could be really good for them and they could win a championship. You could see that happening. But also at the same time, it's just you've never seen him actually contribute to winning.
Mm-hmm.
And even this year, I could see a good defensive team that needs scoring going after him. I could see Memphis. Because Memphis has a lot of good defenders. You could pair him with Jaren Jackson Jr. in some lineups. They need more shooting. I could see Memphis. I could see New York. Because Mitchell Robinson's hurt all the time, and, maybe they move off Obi Toppin. So, I don't know. There's not a ton of playing time there, though, if Robinson's healthy, Hartenstein's healthy, Randall's healthy.
Diaz is at 25 says, speaking of Charlotte, I take Washington. Well, PJ Washington's a restricted free agent. It's going to be really hard to get him.
Yeah. It's hard to find names, man. Anyway.
Lillard's exit meeting just dropped.
Do we want to watch and react? We already reacted to a lot of quotes. Where do you want to go with this?
Yeah, let's not. We can always talk about... I'll watch the videos, and we can talk about it more tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Plumlee and Bones Highland got into it on the bench as well.
Why is everybody fighting?
I don't know. We already reacted to the main things you said, so...
Okay, so where do you want to go with this postgame?
We can take questions, I guess.
Yeah, sure. We already did Tankathon.
What's up, Carson? Go rewatch the show, Gabe. No, just kidding.
Well,
Dame wants the team to go all in this summer and win, so nothing new.
Basically, we either get the number one pick or we trade it is probably what is going to happen.
Luka Garza will save us, yeah. You want to talk about Luka Garza again, Tori?
Yeah, after all this, that's the guy. Luka freaking Garza. Might as well get Luka sandwich too at that point. Just get all the Lukas except the one that's good.
David C. with a member for 5 months message. Thank you, David. And he says, thank you for all 82 shows. Best channel on YouTube. Appreciate that, man.
Thanks, David. Appreciate you. Kai Soto. If you had to bet on any of like the big targets we've talked about, OG, McHale, Jaylen Brown, Embiid, I don't know, like I'm probably forgetting a couple names that we talked about, but if you had to bet on like kind of a big name being in Portland next year at this point, who would you bet on?
DeMar DeRozan.
No. Really? Please tell me you're joking.
I'm not joking, but that's not who I bet on. But that's the level of disappointment. It's kind of like your Kevin Knox thing at the trade deadline. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I don't want DeMar DeRozan, but like that's like I've resigned myself to not like think that that's what's going to happen now.
I'm scared. I'm afraid. I'm scared and afraid.
How about you?
It's tough. Because I would say OG if Masai Ujiri wasn't GM of the Raptors.
Yeah. So I think it's down to McHale or OG are the guys they're going to overpay for or be willing to overpay for. The reason why I lean towards OG is because his contract situation makes him have less value in a trade. So the fact that Toronto waited till he could possibly opt out, that makes me lean similar to Jeremy Grant. You know, Detroit wanted a lot for him at the trade deadline, and then they were willing to give him away for one first-round pick and cap space a few months later. So that type of situation might play out with OG. also depends kind of on how, if the Nets flame out in the playoffs and the Raptors lose in the play-in. If they're playing the Bulls and then they have to win a second one against the loser of the Hawks and Heat. So if they don't make the playoffs, that could be a situation where they are more willing to trade him too. But I do think Mikal Bridges is by far and away trade target number one outside of, Embiid or Giannis becoming available. I just don't think they'll be able to pull it off.
Yeah, but if I had to bet, I'd say Mikal.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, I'm trying to go back and find Dame's quotes. By the way, Yusuf Nurkic asked if he hopes to be back next year. He says, I don't plan on leaving. So, Dame said, okay, based off the Casey Holdahl tweet, it reads off, Dame says there are needle movers, plural, who want to come to Portland. So, why is that plural? Is my question. Or is Dame just trying to hype up the offseason that's coming up?
I don't think he's saying we're going to get all of them. I think he's just saying there's multiple people that would want to play at Portland with him.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying is like multiple. Sounds kind of optimistic.
Well, it can't be anyone really good then, because anyone really good we have to give up everything for, so there's not a second move we could make. So it'd have to be players on two teams. But like I said,
we're not going to be able to get Dame, or we're not going to be able to get like Embiid and Giannis, but like if both of them wanted to come here, then that would be two needle movers, obviously. Well, that would be needle destroyers. We just rocket ship up to the top. But that's the thing is needle movers. So he makes it sound like it's multiple guys that want to come to Portland to play with them, which is just tough to fathom. I would love to have that level of optimism, but
that's why I think it's his buddies like DeRozan, Mikal, Cam Johnson types. Those are the type. Because like Cam Johnson and Mikal, he could definitely see they're both on the same team. Like they both want to come here. I think they're both could make us really good, but he doesn't realize how hard it would be to get Cam Johnson with his restricted free agency status and all that stuff. So
yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah,
because you can't just trade the third pick for Mikal and throw in Cam Johnson, because Cam Johnson has to wait till free agency.
Zach says, what if it's LeBron? I don't think LeBron's going anywhere until he knows for sure where.
Who do you think? This is the type of question you hate. Who do you think's more realistic going into next year, Giannis or LeBron?
More realistic. Well, neither are even in the realm of being realistic. But
in fantasy land, who is more realistic?
I'd say it's probably LeBron, and I'll say that's if Bronny came to U of O or something, and then he came to Oregon too, that type of thing.
If only Eugene was closer to Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go Giannis there. Obviously, neither are realistic. It'll be interesting. I mean, I'm rooting against the Bucks. I'm rooting against the Sixers. I'm rooting against anybody with a really good player that, in fantasy land, even would want to play with Dame.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're rooting for miracles here. Anyway, I just wanted to see what the results for that poll would be. 82% say they don't want DeRozan on the Blazers out of 56 votes. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, if we're talking next summer, 2024, it's completely different, because that just, if we had a chance to draft Bronny, and then I would say it's by far LeBron, and we'd have the most realistic team.
Yep. I can see Bam Adebayo. I feel like that's a guy we should talk more about.
Well, there's only a couple scenarios that make sense for Bam, in my opinion. One is they'd have to think Ant's a star or like worth like a Miami type player. I'm not sure if they feel that way or not. Sharp, I could definitely see them thinking that. Or, Scoot or one of the Thompson twins being a star. So we'd have to get second or third pick, and we'd have to, because they're not the type of team that trades like a star for like 4 future first or something. So
until they are.
But yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they're stuck. They're stuck right now. They're not good enough to contend anymore, I don't think.
Or until Pat Riley falls asleep and misses the draft or something after he missed the trade deadline.
Oh, yeah. That's so funny. I mean, honestly, you could... Go ahead.
Would you do... we talked about this several weeks ago.
Yeah.
The... What? Remember that scenario where we got Bam and Jimmy Butler?
You mean this guy? I was already plugging it in the trade machine.
Yes.
I was already plugging it in. I'm right there with you.
Do you guys still do that?
Not with Sharp.
It only works with everyone.
I know.
Yeah.
So. Not with Sharp. I do like 3 future firsts instead of Sharp if possible. I mean, if you throw in... I mean, he's no salary this year. But if you throw in Watford and Walker, does it still not work? That's 52 for 68.
That's going to put us in the tax too, and it's yeah. Yeah, it only worked with everyone other than Dame, basically. Yeah,
it's still not enough. You'd have to. I mean, you can't even throw in anyone else. So.
Well, you could, I guess, if we got like Scoot or something, use him instead of Sharp, but I don't think they would do it then.
As the salary.
You'd have so DJ Vega, you wouldn't want a team with Dame, Jimmy Butler, Bam, and Jeremy Grant. That championship window is too small. Then you add like a Seth Curry in free agency.
There would be no way I would give up Ant, Sharp, and our lottery pick. So like, then maybe you take. If you get up to take Scoot, maybe you take him, or then you're looking at guards with like the 6th or 7th pick.
Yeah,
which would be strange.
In that scenario, we traded our first round pick too.
Yeah, I'm not giving up Ant, Sharp in a first round pick.
Excuse me for just a second.
I'd have a hard time giving up that package without the high lottery pick this year. So, anyway. Tomorrow we'll have a stream, 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. We can talk more Media Day Fallout. We can talk more about this upcoming offseason. We can talk more about the playoffs, or at least the play-ins. That'll be on our second channel, Blazers Uprise Live. Link in description box below. This is our last stream on this channel until May 16th, unless some major breaking news happens regarding this team. This is our last live stream on this main channel, but we will still be streaming twice a week, Mondays, Thursdays, on Blazers Uprise Live, 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. So go subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to stick with us for our live streams in the off-season.
Okay, he didn't say he wants to start. He says he feels like he'd be ready to start. There's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, which is a good way to word it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we need Wemby.
The miracle savior.
The headaches just go away. with Wemby.
I don't know what the dog's doing. She came in here and starts whining at me when everyone else is downstairs. But
Krish made a Wemby edit. I retweeted it. Finally, Krish back on the edits. I saw Krish in here earlier, too. We got the real Krish back.
She's whining for Wemby.
Whining for Wemby. I'll whine for Wemby. I'll whine every stream, every second for Wemby.
No, Ian, she doesn't need to go outside. Everyone else is literally down by the door to let her out, and she's in here in the bedroom whining. I don't know.
Okay, you can do that, my guy.
Dro, no. I think LeBron and AD make too much, so no. And the Lakers would never do that anyway.
Anyway, any
Okay, there you go.
final questions or statements or thoughts from this season? Because this is the season wrap-up. I love how it's just basically an off-season stream off the bat.
Yeah.
With Media Day. But I don't know. Favorite moments from the season?
Getting the 5th best odds. Losing to the Spurs.
Today?
Losing to the Spurs the other day.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I'm joking. Dame 71.
Yeah.
The multiple game winners are clutch baskets in the first 14 games. Yeah, I mean, Sharp's development, obviously. Yeah.
Anthony Simons' third quarter against the Nuggets to start the season was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
That was really hype. Dame, passing Clyde was big for me. Opening day was really fun. Our first opening day win was cool. Dame winning the 3-point contest was cool to see. I mean, not really a big deal to me, but I know some people really enjoyed that. Nurk sniper game, yeah. What was the thumbnail title on that? Nurk Nowitzki. Yeah, that game was fun. Nurkic's development as a shooter was fun.
Yeah, we were having a watch party live for the Jeremy Grant game winner. Or no, we were on Gabe's show, right?
Were we? Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Dude, I hated how they had all the Suns games right at the start of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen? Dude, his channel's been popping off lately.
Oh, I was watching it today because the game was boring.
Yeah, his channel's been popping off. So hopefully next year they spread out our Suns games. That would be cool. Trading GP2.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, David. That was a highlight. Except for,
dude, we haven't talked about that.
Then when we found out that we passed up Sadiq Bey or James Wiseman instead of, yeah.
Shout out Truly Spencer PDX with a 5-month member message. Says, been a great season of shows, guys. Thanks. Appreciate you, Spencer, as always. Thanks for being a channel member. Thanks for showing up all season. Thanks
also,
for the support.
Yeah, thanks, Spencer. If anyone's interested in playing basketball this summer or joining the list of people I contact whenever we do meet up to play, whether that's outdoors or we finally get a gym or whatever, if you just message me on Twitter or Discord or whatever, I can let you know when those will happen.
Yep. Zach says, can we get to 8K followers before the stream ends? Not going to happen. The sub growth with this team being in the state it is has been very painfully slow. We are 29 away. So if you know Blazer fans that want content, let them know. We'll see how soon we can get to 8K. Hopefully soon, because I just want to get past that number and then I'm chilling. I don't care about, beyond that. It's just it's painful being like 30, 40 away. Shout out Chris Brandlin, member for 14 months, says Blazers loyal all the way. Let's go Cronin. Thank you, Chris, for the 14-month member message. Yeah, let's go Cronin. Do something. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's good. And then shout out Emerson, member for 31 months. Absolute legend. Veteran. You're an experienced veteran now, Emerson. His message says, thanks for 82 out of 82. Go Blazers and Blazers Uprise. Thank you, Emerson.
The Discord logo is just the red Blazers Uprise with like white text with the line on top and bottom.
Yeah, it's the same.
There should be a link in the description
YouTube
as well.
Mm-hmm. Let me know if that link works or not, chat. If you want to join our Discord, let me know if it works. Should be a link in the description.
Also, still planning on going somewhere public for the draft lottery. So if you want to join me for that, hit me up as well.
What?
I'm going to be streaming on location for that.
Oh, okay. That's news to me.
I've said it like 3 times in
You
streams.
brought it up. I didn't know you were doing it. Okay. Sounds good.
I'm planning on doing it. I'm just saying if you want to do it, let me know.
All right. What happened with GP today? We didn't talk about that, Eric. Were the boos loud enough to satisfy you?
Well, considering it was mostly Warrior fans in there, not quite, but it was good enough. At least they booed him. It was audible, so yeah.
Yeah.
And Warrior fans are all pissy about it.
I know.
Classless organization booing that man.
Yeah, and then meanwhile you got Jordan Poole laughing and pointing at an injured Jabari Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We're the classless organization, not the... Oh, God, I hate that freaking franchise. I wanted them to play the Suns so bad, so the Suns could beat them and KD could beat them in the first round, because I think they're going to beat the Kings.
Oh, yeah, there was also a time where... So Peyton stripped Sharp, and then instead of going down on the fast break, he just stood there, turned around, and talked crap to Sharp while the rest of his team went down and tried to score.
Screw Jordan Poole. Screw Gary Payton II. Screw that organization. Freaking hate them. Like, I hate the Lakers just because it's the Lakers, but like I hate the Warriors because of specifically who they are. I would love for the Kings to beat them. That would be awesome.
All good. The Warriors just did win in Sacramento, though, the other day.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe say that Sacramento took their foot out the gas, but...
Cole, I thought the same. Really disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll make playoff picks probably Thursday. We do that every year with our mods. So Thursday on the second channel, Blazers Uprise Live.
Yep.
And we'll have videos coming up this upcoming week, so stay tuned for those. Looking forward to those. Looking forward to finally getting back on that grind.
For sure.
Sure.
Look for prompts for mailbags too, because those videos are only good if we have good questions. So look for those.
Yep.
That'll be a good way for you guys to interact too throughout the off season.
Do you think we should just do a new Discord thread or do it through YouTube for those? Because I wanted to do it through Discord just to motivate people to join it and grow that, but
I think it works better with YouTube, so
I agree.
we'll just go back to that.
So just join our Discord regardless, all right?
If you want, I have updated the picks against the spread if you want to.
You want to announce your own championship?
Well, if you want to, I don't know if you want to do the graphic real quick.
The standings?
Yeah.
I'll do the final standings.
All right.
I'm sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I finished 7 games back, but I dn't finish 500 again. Arrow and Trevin. Yeah. God. Okay. Fine. I'll do the standings.
There were 2 ties.
I went on such a slump to end the year, man. It was upsetting. Zach was phenomenal today. Zach ended the season on a roll.
Mm-hmm.
Here,
Shooting up some standings.
Yeah, I'll try and make the graphic before I talk about it all.
Lalo, that actually was a quote from Dame today. They had their exit interviews afterwards for some reason.
Very strange.
Connor finally had a good day today. He won a double down too. Congrats, Connor.
So we finished collectively how many games under 500?
116.
I wonder what it was last year. It was better last year.
Yeah, I remember. We'll save this though. And then yeah, I was the only one who finished over 500. That was the only one who finished over 49%.
We had like 5 of us above 500 at one point, but then everyone went on a slump except for you.
I feel like yeah, it's like I didn't really win it. I think I just
didn't lose.
Was like the least worst of us, you know?
Yeah, because we were struggling to end the season.
Chat was 6-10 today. So unfortunately, you guys needed to do really well, but
dude, early it was looking like maybe I would have a chance because there was like 4 games we disagreed on, and they were like all looking like they were in my favor or very close, and I'm like, ooh, I might be able to come back.
Yeah.
From 8 games down, I just need the Mavericks to pad out, and I mean, yeah, I think it's completely.
I picked the wrong island to double down on because the Wizards were up big and then sold at the end and ended up losing by 5, and the spread was 4.
Yeah, I picked the wrong.
It didn't matter. Yeah, I was like, when you took the Mavs.
Yeah.
Because if they won and the Thunder lost, they could have jeopardized them getting the 10th pick because they would have fallen to 11th or something. So they had to lose that game no matter what.
Yeah, I just thought they were playing the Spurs, so, you know, it was one of those where, like, yeah, they're not going to try and win, but also neither are the Spurs, and the Spurs are going to suck too, so just take the, I don't know, it was a toss-up for me. Next year, should be able to code the spread graphics and not actually have to make them before streams, and should update spreads live. We should be able to do that, Eric. And then we can maybe set them up in a way where people could keep track online. So the guy that made the bottom ticker, I've been working with him on a bunch of different stuff. There's a lot of things that are possible that I'm going to take a look at this off-season. So if you have ever have any ideas for anything, feel free to reach out and suggest things. You know, a lot of things are possible, and we're going to keep trying to push the envelope, especially next year, because I'm starting to realize more things are possible than I ever imagined. I could have never imagined having a live updating score ticker on the bottom with my own graphics, and now that is kind of bare bones to some of the other things that we can do. So if you ever have any advice for the channel, or things we should try and do, always feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or Discord or email. All right, Eric, I'm adding the picture. That is the final picks against the spread standings. This is a segment we have during the regular season on our second channel, Blazers Uprise Live. Of course, we won't have this in the off-season because it's the off-season. We have no games to pick. I mean, we could pick playoffs, but that gets tricky. So we just end it at the end of the regular season. Yeah, 7-9 for you. I would have had to go 16-0 to pass you, 15-1 to tie. Yeah, no chance. I just wanted to get up to 500. Couldn't get that done. Jackson is 5th. Connor 6th. Arrow and Trevin are tied for 7th. Chat and Zach are tied. Chat wins the tiebreaker. So Chat is officially 2nd. Zach is officially 3rd.
Arrow and Trevin officially tied for last. The tiebreaker was tied too.
Yep. What was the second tiebreaker? Didn't we say final day? We never established it.
We
You guys
never
both get
established
last
it.
together. Congrats.
Yeah.
Next year, it should be percentage. That's tied to double down, so we can't do double down second. And then we just do last day, maybe. And then we go to the day before if that's tied, and the day before if that's tied. That's how we'll do it next year, I think. But
How about or least amount of times you had to be contacted outside of the stream starting to get your picks in?
I mean, if it's ties between our two mods, I think that's reasonable. Yeah. Jackson's losing that one, or Zach. Which one do you think we had to contact more or wait on more this year?
Probably Zach.
Probably Zach. Lately, it was Jackson.
Yeah.
Zach was pretty good lately. Lately, it was Jackson. Connor was occasionally hit or miss, but Connor is like, yeah, I'm working in the middle of this. I'm on a work call right now, and I'm making my picks, so I respect it, you know. I respect it. We had Connor and Aeromancer on stream for picks against the spread earlier this morning. Aeromancer dropping a couple curse words. But his mic wasn't that great, so I'm not sure many people noticed. It was funny though. It was fun. It was fun. Hopefully chat was impressed with me being up doing 15 games and graphics at 9:40 in the morning.
Smog says he's available, has more time next year for mod ship.
Should we take applications for mod ship, Eric? Should we just have use a application website and then just take applications for mods, mostly at a funny... Give me a funny case why you should be a mod.
I think it's got to be a lot more extensive than that, because there's a lot of people that...
Blood tests and everything. Drug tests.
Despite what I said about Smog on that stream earlier, I like Smog, so he can be a mod.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll have conversations around various things with this channel this offseason. So, can I apply to be fired?
Nope.
Yeah, Zach is mod against his will. Hyperprime $2 donor says, nah, do a mod draft. How would it... Explain, elaborate. I like the thought. I have no idea what it means, but it just sounds cool, so...
Yeah. Well, we could, do a draft, so, let's just say we had 6 mods. Mm-hmm. And then, you pick 3, I pick 3, and then we keep track throughout the year, who was the quickest to ban someone that was spamming or a sex bot or something. And
have a team of mods.
And then you have, because then we could be, rooting for, if Trevin's on my team, I'd be like, yes, Trevin, good job. You got that one. And then...
I like that.
And then, like I said, with the picks, if they show up on time, they get a point that they're there for their picks right away. We don't have to contact them, Yeah.
That's a great idea. I need to get cardboard with Post-it notes to write stuff down.
And then they get, negatives if they, ban, Connor, sometimes ban someone or put someone in timeout for something that isn't really worthy of that.
Yeah.
Then he gets, a negative point, and you're like, dang it, Connor!
I feel like we'd need 3 people to have a mod team so that 2 of them could say, yeah, that's a point against your guy.
Yeah.
So... we'd have to figure out who that third person is. But I love this idea. This sounds absolutely thrilling. Especially if we have to tank again next year. We're going to have to come up with content ideas.
Oh, please no.
Yeah, this tanking again was just got me thinking about how we just need different gimmicks like that for fun, Because this team was rough. But now it's over. I'm still writing this down. Idea board. I'm going to make a spreadsheet. Idea board. Mod draft plus point system.
Before we go, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to all of you who are watching, all of you who have watched at any point throughout the year, supported the channel, whether it's just watching us or donating or channel members, liking streams, subscribing to the channel, all that stuff. Really appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a great off season, and I hope you enjoy the off season with us as part of it. But if not, hope to see you again next season.
Yeah, it's always weird. The last stream of the year, this is the 4th time we've done this. It always feels like a goodbye and sad, even though it's absolutely not, because we'll still have videos. We'll still have 2 streams a week on the second channel. So,
yeah, if you're not subscribed to that second channel, Blazers Uprise Live, we will stream Monday and Thursday nights around 9:30 p.m. And yeah, we can talk about stuff. A lot of tankathon and draft talk until the draft lottery and the draft. So. Yep.
And I might be willing to do more just random impromptu streams occasionally on that channel as well. This off-season, Believe in Blazers podcast will come back. I need to record with Steven at some point. I'd be willing to do one of those live. So the initial idea with that channel was to branch out and do just kind of more random live stuff. Turned into just our second live stream show and our off-season live stream show Mondays and Thursdays. But yeah, it could be some other stuff on that channel as well, so definitely subscribe. But yeah, it's always just sad at the end of the season, like no more basketball, but it's like also I couldn't even this game, even though it was the last game of the year, it was hard to watch this game. Like, you know what I mean? I watched it and I just got mad at GP2 and Jordan Poole.
That's why I had Gabe on in the background.
Yeah. So you know, I didn't even enjoy it, but it is sad. No more basketball, and it always feels like a goodbye. But it's basically just a goodbye for post-game shows, at least until Summer League. We might do some, depending on who's on our Summer League team. But, you know, we'll see when next season gets here. It might feel like the off-season was a blur, just like this past season was.
SXKJX says, why do we stream at night in the off-season? 1, we don't do picks, so it's just easier. 2, it allows us to actually do stuff and have a life during the day. For me, that means work, kids, family stuff. And then at night, it's a lot easier to stream. And then also, so like for the next couple months, there'll be playoffs and stuff. So we can talk about playoff games and things that are happening around the NBA. But then above all that, it's just kind of the streams are just chill in the off season, and it just makes more sense to do them at night when it's just kind of like a more relaxing time.
Yep. And Tuesday I'll have my content plans video. I'll have some news about NBA Uprise as well. It'll go over everything that I and Eric plan on doing this off season. Of course, we can always add to it. So if you have any suggestions based off that video, feel free to leave them in that comment section. But yeah, Tuesday, probably drop it around 3 p.m. This off season for daily uploads, I want to try and upload at 12 p.m. I'm going to start it a little bit later just to give the post-game show some time to breathe, you know, YouTube stuff. So, but Tuesday, we'll have some fun news with NBA Uprise. Chris, I see you asking that. Yeah, I do have plans with that. I've been working to get ahead on daily uploads, graphics for player reviews and stuff like that. I'll talk about that more in that video. So yeah, doing it at night does allow me to have a little easier time doing things other than YouTube during the day. And you know, I've been working on a couple side projects business wise, so graphic design stuff. And yeah, I enjoy streaming at 9:30. It's gonna be nice, Eric. It's always such a drastic change from like, oh, we have to stream 5-6 times a week, twice in the middle of the day, to just twice at 9:30.
Yeah.
So
just 2 streams a week. That's weird.
Yeah, it takes some getting used to.
But like you said, we'll be working on videos and stuff. So.
Yep. So anyway, thank you to all of you, as Eric said, for tuning in with us this season. I can't believe the season's already over. But I'm looking forward to the offseason and seeing what this Blazer team can do to get out of this rut that they've been in the past couple of years. Hopefully we entertained you guys, made you guys laugh, maybe made you guys cry. Hopefully not. Hopefully it was tears of joy, because this team, unfortunately, has not brought those so far. But regardless, hopefully we entertained you so far this season. Thank you for being there every step of the way. We'll continue to be here, and we hope to see you around in the off-season. That's a wrap for this season of Blazers Uprise post-game shows presented by Bet Online. Thank you Bet Online
for sponsoring us all year.
They've been huge all year. Use that promo code BELIEVE for a 50% reward bonus. And thank you to everyone who donated. Thank you to everyone who's a channel member. Thank you to our mods, Trevin, Jackson, Connor, Aeromancer, Zach. Thank you to you 5 for helping regulate what has been a wild chat this season. And thank you to everybody who even just left a comment, participated in chat, made this community what it is. Thank you to everyone who leaves likes on videos. It helps the channel out. You guys are this channel. This channel is bigger than just me and Eric. This channel is your guys' channel. It's a community, and that's what I love about it. So anyway, that's a wrap. We will catch you tomorrow night on the second channel. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.